Hello, today we will be covering how to convert between decimals and fractions. To start off, I am going to cover how to go from decimal to fraction form. We already touched bases with this, but as a refresher, how I most like to do this is just read the name of the decimal, and that tells you what it is as a fraction. Like if I read this decimal, it reads 6/100ths, because there's two decimal places. That's the hundredths place, so 6/100ths. So that tells me that it's going to be 6 over 100. Now, when you are writing fractions, you want to write them in simplest form. I can see that 6 and 100 can both be reduced by 2, so I'm going to do so. 6 reduced by 2 is 3, and 100 reduced by 2 is 50. So the final answer is 3/5. Now at the next example, we have 3/10. Again, it's just as if you would read it. So 3 over 10. And reduce if possible. 3 over 10 does not reduce, so our final answer is 3/10. Now, with our last example from decimal to fraction, it is 2 63/100ths. When you have a decimal greater than 1 or greater, you are going to write it with the whole number, 2, and then the fraction, because it will become a mixed number because it's greater than 1. So 63/100ths. And again, 63 over 100 does not reduce because 63 and 100 don't have a common factor. So to convert 2.63 to a fraction, it becomes the mixed number 2 63/100ths. Now to go from fraction to decimal is an easier process to think about, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. How you go from fraction to decimal is you divide the numerator by the denominator, because this fraction bar is technically a division bar. So to change 5/8 into a decimal, you are going to take 5 divided by 8 and then do the long division. I don't know how many decimal places I'm going to have, but I'm just going to put 3 zeros there to start out with. If I need more, I can add them. If I need less, I can erase them. To do long division again, you look at the 8. Does it go into 5? No. And the decimal goes straight up. Now I look at 50. Does 8 go into 50? Yes. How many times? 6. Because 6 times 8 is 48. Then you subtract. 50 minus 48 is 2. Does 8 go into 2? No. That's good. So I drop down a 0. Does 8 go into 20? Yes. How many times? Twice. 2 times 8 is 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. And again, drop the 0. Does 8 go into 40? Yes, 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. And as soon as you reach to a spot where you come up with 0, you can stop. So 5/8 as a decimal is 0.625, or 625 thousandths. And now this is called a terminating decimal because it ends. It doesn't keep going on and forever. Now the next example, 1/6, we're going to run into a non-terminating decimal because it just keeps on going. So again, I'm going to take the 1, divide it by 6, and add about 3 zeros. Does 6 go into 1? No. Bring the decimal up. Does 6 go into 10? Yes, 1 time. 1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. the 6, oh, drop the 0. Forgot to show that. 6 times what is 40? Well, 6 will give us 36, and we get a 4. Now, do you see how we got the same answer as up here? And if we drop another 0, we're going to get 40 again. Well, I know the answer is going to be 6, so minus 36. Well, you get 4 again. And I could keep adding more and more zeros, but as you can tell, the pattern's just going to keep on repeating itself. So to show a repetition in a decimal, we'll place a bar over it, saying that that number or numbers repeat an infinite amount of times. So the decimal for 1/6 is 0.166666666 non-terminating. Now 6 over 5. When we have an improper fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, we are going to get a decimal larger than 1. So again, you just do the division, 6 divided by 5. And again, I'm going to add 3 zeros. I might not need them all. Well, does 5 go into 6? Yes, 1 time. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. Drop the 0. Does 5 go into 10? Yes, 2 times. Don't forget to bring your decimal point exactly above it. 2 times 5 is 10. And as soon as we get 0, we can stop. So those 2 extra zeros, technically I didn't need, but I still added them just in case I did need them. But our final answer for 6/5 is 1 2/10, or 1.2. Now we're going to simplify an expression that is adding fractions and decimals together. Now you have 2 ways of doing this. And the first method is to convert everything to a decimal. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert all the fractions to a decimal. If I look here, I have 10 and 1/2 and 3 and 4/5. So I just have to convert those two to a decimal because 7.64 is already a decimal. So now if I look at 10 and 1/2, all I have to do is 1 divided by 2 to get the decimal equivalent. Well, I'm going to add my 3 zeros. Does 2 go into 1? No. Bring the decimal up. Does 2 go into 10? Yes, 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. So the 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. Now that's a pretty common fraction to decimal equivalent, so you probably won't have to do the division. I just did it out here to show you. So that means my final answer is going to be 10.5 though. Because the 1/2 is the 0.5, we cannot forget about the 10. Now to go on to 4/5, we need 4 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 4. Bring up your decimal place. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40, and 40 minus 40 is 0. Again, we can just stop after 1 decimal place, and 3 4/5 is equivalent to 3.8. And like I said, the 7.64 we do not have to change. Now, to add these, I'm going to write them vertically. So 10.5, 7.64, and 3.8. Remember, when you're adding fractions, add zeros at the end of the decimal so they all have the same number of decimal places. Then you just add 0 plus 4 is 4, plus 0 is 4. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 8 is 19, carry the 1. Write down the 9, carry the 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 7 is 8, plus 3 is 11, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, drop your decimal place down. So 21.94 is our final answer. Now, the next method, of course, if this was to convert everything to a decimal, this way is to convert everything to a fraction. Well, there's only one that I have to convert to a fraction, and that's 7.64 6.64. Well, to do that, that's going to be 7 and 64 hundredths. Again, just read this. It's 7 and 64 hundredths. So that means 64 over 100. Now this can be reduced, and I am going to do that before I start the addition. So that means I can reduce it by 2 for sure, so 3250. I can reduce that by 2 again. 2 goes into 32 16 times. Only goes into 50 25 times. 16 over 25 does not reduce. So now I have 10 and a half plus 7 16/25 plus 3 4/5. Now, if you remember from your addition of mixed numbers, what you can do is you can add your whole number parts together, then add your fraction parts together separately. So I can take this 10 plus 7 plus 3, which gives us 20, and then off to the side do 1/2 plus 16 over 25 plus 4 over 5. Now this is where this method takes a little bit of time, because you have to find the LCD when they don't have common denominators. Well, automatically, 2 and 5 do not have anything in common. 5 goes into 25. So I'm going to assume that 2 times 25 is my LCD. It might not be the lowest common denominator, but that's the quick way. When 2 of your numbers don't have anything in common, and this one goes into that one, multiply those 2 together to get your LCD of 50. As I can see, all of them do go into 50. 2 25 times, 25 2 times, and 5 10 times. Then if I add it, 5 plus 2 plus 0 is 2. 7. Whoa. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Now this is still an improper fraction, so what you have to do is do the division. So 97 divided by 50. Well, it goes into there once. And then with fractions, we don't keep going as we did with decimals. Now this is just going to be 47 over 50. So if I add that to this now, plus 1 and 47 over 50, you get 21 and 47 over 50. And that's our final answer. Now, are these two answers equivalent? The quickest way I would do is, since this says 94 hundredths, let's make this into hundredths. To do that, I'd have to multiply this by 2, which means I have to multiply the numerator by 2. Well, 47 times 2, 2 times 7 is 14, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 90. So this would be 21 and 94 over 100, or 94 hundredths. So they indeed are equivalent. I hope you found this useful. Have a good day.